All right, welcome everyone to our panel discussion today. It's a lovely sunny afternoon in India, in Singapore, in Shanghai, and I've heard in the UK as well. And that's where our panel is from today. We are sitting across different parts of the world and coming to you to talk to you a little bit about the three specific journeys that truly stood out for us at the Red Pen this year in the Masters team. Jovita, Ved, and Harshil are here with us today, and they're going to highlight some key elements of their journey that is going to help you, the audience, find relatable reason and which is going to inform your decision of whether you want to go this year, whether you want to go next year, or also help you understand which are those pieces of the application that truly need your attention. And Ved, Jovita, Harshil, thank you so much for taking out time to do this for us. I know Harsh's a little stressed with his visa paperwork, but it's all coming through now. Ved is trying to settle into Singapore. He's recently arrived there and discovering the hawker center culture. And Jovita, as always, is super excited, very, very happy. And everything is easy, which is her usual stance on things. Yeah, it was easy. It all got done. So thank you so much, all three of you, for agreeing to do this for the Red Pen. We are going to do a quick round of introductions first. Each one of you, let's start with Jovita, Ved, and Harshil. Can you just quickly share your name, your area of study, and where you're headed for your master's?
Yeah, I think I'll go first. Hi everyone, I am Jovita Thoris. I'm currently heading to Imperial College this fall for the MSc Finance and Accounting program.
All right. Ved?
Uh, go ahead, Harshil, go ahead.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Harshil, and I'm also heading towards Imperial College London for Masters in AI and Applications and Innovation.
Okay. Ved.
Hi guys, my name is Ved Prabhu. I'm a student at NUS Law College here, and I had applied for the LLM in International Business Law, so I'm already at the campus. So, yeah, nice to meet you all.
Perfect. And we're going to start with an icebreaker. You have to finish this sentence for me, Ved. For me, the most stressful part of the application was.
The wait after my application sent. I think that's the most stressful period when you have to wait and you have like you're done with your work as well and you're waiting for the college to respond. I think that period is really nerve-wracking.
Okay. All right. And for you, Jovita?
So I think I agree with Ved, but for me there were two aspects. The first one was the SOP, especially the brainstorming sessions and knowing your why. And the second one was, when you hit submit and then that wait period that you have, you're always in anticipation and ambiguity. So I think there were two aspects to it that was stressful for me.
Okay. All right. And Harshil, how about you?
For me, I agree with the weight part as well. But for me personally, the most stressful part was definitely the GRE because uh, I just went through a lot in that time, and just the English part of the GRE was not, I would say, not my strong subject, and I had to work a lot to get a fine score.
Okay. Understood. And, we will talk about your GRE journey a little bit and also about the fact that you were multitasking at that time. But when I work with applicants, I mean, all of us at the Red Pen, a very critical beginning point for us is getting the college list. And this college list process, for me, in the master's side of the work, is very, very critical because it helps me really get a sneak peek into who you are as a person, how you navigate decisions, what kind of a selection process do you have, how do you approach problems in your life. And so all three of you brought very unique perspectives to it. And Jovita and Harshil, we're going to start, with the two of you on this section. Jovita, you took a minute. Okay, I can't tell you how much back and forth your counselor and I have done over your college list. But then when I worked with Harshil and his counselor, there was a lot of clarity. Harshil knew from the beginning. We were doing very few calls together, and then the college list was done way faster than I typically get it done with other applicants. So then my question for both of you is, and you can, whoever wants to go first, what and how did you pick your final college list?
Yeah, so I feel like I was very intentional with my college list. I knew that I had to be very meticulous in terms of the curriculum that the course is offering. So I actually narrowed down, and my central focus was only curriculum. I did not look at rankings at the beginning. So I actually researched about what sort of opportunities that the college is offering later on, the alumni profiles, and how is it going to help me actually enrich and change as a person. So but for me, the central focus was again curriculum. So I remember that by the end of it, I was very sure that these things are something that are most important to me, and if I'm picking a course, it has to include a set of things, like some courses like corporate finance or entrepreneurial finance, international finance, certain electives that interested me. So my central focus, like I said earlier, was only curriculum, but other aspects of it, like alumni profiles and what opportunities, were also central to making that final choice.
Got it. All right. And Harshal?
So for me, I think this part of the process was a little easier because I was very clear from the beginning that I had a very niche choice of program that I wanted to go into. That I wanted to blend AI, and then I wanted to blend the business part of it. And not a lot of programs when I was applying were exactly offering that. So for me, the college list selection was quite easier, and then after that you just need a little bit of research. So I feel like if you know exactly what you want from your master's degree, it becomes really easy to pick your college, because then you can just go through the college what they're offering, as Chavita said, and you can just select very easily. It's not that difficult to do so once you know what you want. And I feel like
Okay.
that's the most important part when it comes to selecting your college.
Got it. And so therefore, what I'm drawing from what you both are saying as a common pattern is that you got to know what you're looking for. And then in
Yeah.
Jovita's case, because the subject is offered by many colleges, that's why she took so much longer going through each
Yeah.
college
Yes.
doing
Yes.
research. But for you, because the program is anyway so niche, the process was
Yes.
quicker. But you
Correct.
both were
Yes.
very clear of what you were looking for in the curriculum,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, got it. And Ved, for you, the question is slightly different because, law schools are law schools and there are only so many good law schools in the world. But I was wondering, and especially when I was reading your essay, and you know why? Because when you was reading your essay, there was that extracurricular and that whole community piece of it. Like, did you ever consider not doing law for graduate school, or maybe doing something which is more tech focused, considering the world of AI that we live in, instead of going for business or corporate law, doing like IP law or NFT law and things like that? People are now gravitating. Cybersecurity law is happening a lot, but you were very intentional about doing something which is a little more mainstream law. And I'm wondering also that, did you say, okay, well, I have my bachelor's degree in law and I just want to do something different now? Maybe I want to do general management or something. Where were you at in terms of that decision making?
So, Tripti, I'm going to be very honest about this, right? So, when I graduated from law school, I was as clueless as anybody would be. As a graduate, you don't know what your next steps are. You're just walking out in the world fresh, and with you have hundreds of opportunities to look at. But I'm going to be very honest. I think Red Pen helped me gave me a lot of clarity on how I should narrow down on my options and think about what I need to do, right? So, your question is pretty precise. Like, why did I choose something so general, and why didn't I go for something else which is, related to legal tech or tech in general, right? So, what I feel about most LLM programs are, when it comes to law, particularly, is what I've spoken to my peers in the field, my seniors in the field. They've said master's program, most importantly, when it comes to business oriented stuff, or especially law as a subject, is mainly very helpful for networking. So even when I attended orientation back at NUS, this whole week was about orientation. The main emphasis about the course was not the curriculum as a whole, which is important, but mainly about meeting your professors who are actually practicing in the field as partners, and also making network with people from different ethnicities and from different cities of the world, because eventually they said these are going to be the people who might eventually become your clients, or maybe the people practicing along with you, right?
Got
And when it comes to legal tech, I had my own few ventures that I was working towards. So I am also a founder of a legal tech AI company, which is currently in incubation. So it's in pilot testing and with few other firms. So yeah.
So you had spent time on the ground understanding the value that a graduate degree in law will bring you versus saying, well, I'm already doing something in tech law on the side, I might as well formalize it. You were like, well, no, I don't really need to just make these cookie cutter decisions. I'm going to spend time understanding what is the true value I seek from my graduate education. And then that informed your decision. That's what I'm taking away, right?
Yes, that's
Got it.
true.
Okay. And then the question to all three of you is, how important was brand in making this decision of what to include in my college?
Okay, so for me, I think that for Imperial, like I said, I did not look at rankings at first, but I'm not going to, forget the fact that brand does play an important role, but it helps you in terms of opportunities. It helps you put your foot into the door. But what's even more important and what's even more motivating is the curriculum, because at the end of the day, that will help you bridge your short term to your long term goals. So, I think brand plays a role, but it's not the only deciding factor at the end of the day when you're narrowing down your college list.
But was your college list all brands, like all big name
So
universities?
my dream, some of my dream universities had some of the top universities that had programs for finance and accounting, but I still diversified my mix in terms of my target and safety options were still the safer bets that will help me hedge against some of the uncertainties that were happening.
Got it. Got it. Harshal, did you have a deep list or were you a top heavy list?
I mean, as you know, I think I was pretty much top heavy list. For me, I think brand name definitely matters a lot. It gives you credibility to your professional career in the future. It opens up a lot of doors that probably would not have happened if the name tag wasn't there. Like even in India, if you are from IIT, you automatically get a respect, right?
Hmm.
It's the same thing when you go outside. And I think I would say it matters, but as Jovita said, it should not be the only deciding factor. The course that you go into, it's something that should be connecting to your future goals. And in the end, if it's a good university and a good course, and then I think you should just go forward with it, because in the end you're going to meet so many people there that will have, like, they share your mindset, they share your intellect, and I feel like that definitely helps you grow as a person and grow your career as well.
Got it. Got it. Ved, you would agree with Harshal, right? Because that's what
So
orientation.
yeah, so I'm going to be very honest. I agree with Jyota and Harshal completely on this. But I just want this one piece of advice is that when we go for a very top heavy college, like when you go for a lot of rank, a lot of people tend to set aside a lot of motivation and the actual plan that they were wanting to follow just for replacing it with a brand name, right? So I would just say that don't forget what you're actually setting out to do. Don't forget what your actual niche is, right? Just because a college is at a certain rank, it does not necessarily mean that your course is the best there. So I would just say that figure out which place offers you the most exposure and which place offers your type of course the best. It can be at any rank. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it'll be the best course there. So the network will automatically come. So yeah, that's my view.
That's amazing. This reminds me of a conversation I had a couple of weeks ago with somebody who's thinking of doing their graduate school. And they said they do not want a top college on their list. And I'm like, you have work X. What's going on? And because very, very rarely do I come across a fish that flies against that swims against the tide. Okay. So they said to me, well, I've studied my undergrad internationally, and I don't want to be in a place which tries to consistently put me in a box and tries to shape the voice that is so intuitive to me. Because then that's what's the point of a graduate school education. I don't need you to shape me. I need you to provide me the scaffolding and resources and infrastructure to grow. And I said, that's a lot of clarity, right? For a person to be able to articulate it like that, right? And already I'm forming the essay narrative in my head. I'm like, I have to bring out this articulation angle somehow. So uh, this person is able to really voice their motivations really well. And, we all know it's hard. It's hard to find that voice of motivation, right?
Yeah.
So they found it. They don't even know how valuable it is. But they were like, no name brand universities on my list, please. And I'm like, that makes my life so much easier. To not have to find you name brand universities. Okay. The couple of you are here with work experience. So we're gonna Jovita, start with you. How many years of work ex?
So I didn't have. So I had a couple of internships on my profile by the time I was applying. I had 5 internships before
Yeah.
I submitted my first application.
Yeah.
So I had so a mix of, they were spread across finance, so different domains in finance. Some were in fintech. One of them was in investment. Equity research, and one of them was just a content writing internship position. So I think these breadth of internships really give you clarity with respect to what you actually want to do, and if that thing is, in reality, is it something that you're actually going to love doing in the long term. So I had a few months of work ex by the time I was applying. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we speak about the world of finance, people tend to gravitate toward the US far more,
Yeah.
right? That's what happens in my experience. I have to educate them on Europe.
Yeah.
But in your case, you were very clear, not finance. Was it simply geopolitical, your decision, or were there other motivations behind not choosing US colleges?
Okay, so what happened was that when I was actually narrowing down my university list, by November, I was very sure that, my list is going to consist of 70% of colleges in the US, 30% were in across Europe. But then November happened, and then, the H1B headline sort of hit. And that's when I realized, this is the right time to pivot. So I realized that, the geopolitical angle was one of the reasons, but also I realized that, this is the time to look at other geographies. It's not the time to be really rigid with your university shortlist. Be flexible, be agile, because we are living in uncertain times and anything can happen. So by the end of November, I revamped my list, and I had 100%. So all of my colleges were spread across the UK, and I only applied to Europe and some other universities across Asia. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And where you've applied with WorkX, how many months of WorkX do you have? I'm going to quantify in months.
Oh, so Tripti, I'm gonna be honest. I think my scenario is pretty similar to Jovita. When I was in law school, I've had a few internships because it's compulsory for a law
It's
student to
mandatory.
have
Yeah.
continuously. So I've had close to around 8 to 10 months of internship with various companies. And after my graduation, I got uh, enrolled in the High Court bar as a lawyer. So I got my
Yeah.
advocate license, and then I practiced in the capital markets domain for around close to 6 to 7 months, where I used to help companies do IPO, and then I moved on with my applications to find my dream college. Yeah.
Got it. And how important do you think this breadth of work, like Jovita said, that she thinks that the breadth was really important to build a sense of self-awareness, but also then what she put forward. How important do you think your exposure and your breadth has been towards your coveted admits?
So I'm going to be very honest. Like when I was finalizing on places like how Jovita mentioned, right? She circled up on UK in the end, finding various options there as a college. I was really initially my options were spread across, like they were all over the place, right? Some places in US, some places in UK. There was NUS, of course. NUS was one of my top priorities because it was one of the colleges I was targeting for sure. But you need to have your options. You need to have a safety net, as people say. But I'm going to be very honest. While working and while doing my applications, right, I understood one thing is, right, geography, at least in my case, plays a huge role because because, as you know, the legal field is a very close knit field in the places where you practice, right? So as an Indian lawyer, it's very important for me, if I need the recognition and the pace of work post my masters, is really important for me to work at a common law country, because if I do not work at a common law country, I have to start all over again. So in that case, US as an option for me gets pushed away instantly because the whole structure is different. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Um, would you have applied immediately after college and felt like you would have gotten the same admits?
If you guys don't mind, can I take that up?
Yeah, wait, that's for
Yeah.
you
Oh,
specifically.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
great.
honestly, if I'm being very honest, no. Because I just saw a reality of college applications once I came here and met my whole cohort, right? In the application, they had mentioned that we do not specifically look for work ex, but if it's there, we do not ignore it either, right? From what I could see around me, there were people with 8 years, 10 years, even 20 years of work experience in my cohort. There were people who were immediately out of college as well. But one thing common between all of them is that so colleges do not look particularly for work ex, which they are right about. But even if you're working for a little bit, focus on quality instead of quantity, right? You need to focus on, so you need to justify why you're taking that course, and it needs to be justified by how you worked towards it. So that would be
Hmm,
my.
that was okay. And Harshal, you had the exact opposite because our first meeting, we debated whether working for a year or going
Yeah.
immediately. And because you had already met me some time ago and you studied for a bit and then you came back to me. So he's still in college. So he's just graduated and now he's going. So you were very clear that no, I want to go immediately after my undergrad, right?
Yeah.
But you still got amazing admits. Like in the
Yeah.
US, the UK, you got all good, really good admits.
Yeah.
What do you think was therefore critical for you to convert? Because you were also been applying in a batch where people have with work experience, Harshal. Same like Ved, when you look
100%.
at AI, there are a lot of professionals who have, like now we are almost nearly a decade of AI, right? So
Yeah.
there are people with so much work ex also applying for this niche fields. I mean, same like with Jovita, even her pool was very, very competitive for finance. So
Yeah.
Harshal, why did you choose to apply immediately after graduating? No work ex in the middle
So
and directly.
I feel like immediately for me, it was very obvious that I wanted to apply immediately after because my future goals were not really oriented towards getting a job. My future goals were oriented towards just me learning, me going out there, me networking with people, and eventually have my own startup. And I feel like this single bit matters a lot when you choose that what to do. If
Is Harshal stuck?
Yeah, I think he is
Okay,
lagging a bit.
Yeah.
he's lagging. Got it. I was like, maybe it's me. Okay. So Harshal, we'll come back to your question, to the question back to you in a bit. Let's wait. What were your admits?
So my admits were, I think I had gotten an offer from KCL, King's College London, and
Yeah.
then post that I received my NUS offer. So my list was pretty concise, small. I had like only applied for three colleges, 3 or 4 colleges, and I was sure that I need among these. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Sorry, Harshal, you got cut off earlier. You were
Yeah.
saying that your goal was to come back and have your own entrepreneurial journey.
Yes, yes. So I feel like that really matters when you decide if you need to have work ex or you want to go immediately after. Because if you want a secure, high-paying job, then I feel like getting some work experience before joining your masters is beneficial. And if you have a mindset like me, if you want to just straight up go into the entrepreneurial side, then it's not necessary to have work ex. In the end, I feel like it's my personal opinion, but I feel like having work ex is always a benefit. Always.
Is a benefit. Correct. And I'll tell
Yeah.
you, Harshit, your case also, even though your goals were more entrepreneurial and creative intelligence focused, the fact that you did research at Cambridge
Yeah.
kind of has augmented to an additional
Definitely.
how
Definitely.
technical you are.
Yeah.
You were not just an other kid who had an engineering degree. You were a child with an engineering degree who got handpicked by Cambridge to do deep end research. So that was also evidence of your
Yeah.
technical strength, which
Yes.
somewhere kind of helped you because they were like, okay, he's stronger than the rest of the younger lot, right?
Yes.
And that kind of set you apart, which is, again, to Jovita's point, she spent her undergrad looking at finance from different lenses.
Correct.
And you looked
Mhm.
at your undergrad journey going deep into technical skill set building.
Yeah.
There's no right answer. Both of you could have done the opposite, and the result would have been similar. But this is to demonstrate, and with your work experience, this is to demonstrate that every university is looking for intellectual curiosity, right? Now, whether you show it by exposing yourself to the sector, like Jovita did, or you go and build your technical sensibility like Harshil did, or you dive into work to develop your professional self and learn how to negotiate and create decks and work on IPOs and confidently explain to people who don't understand finance what an IPO is and the legalities behind it. So now you're showing them you're capable of change and you're capable of growth rate. So regardless of which path an individual takes, what all three of you have done is demonstrated intellectual curiosity. And I think that's what converts admits, especially strong admits. Um, all right. Okay. Ved, all three of you had great admits. Harshil, you had some super stellar ones. How did you choose between them? There were some in the US, there were some in the UK.
Yeah. So for
How
me,
did
the most difficult choice was choosing between Cornell and Imperial. And because both those programs had the perfect fit for me, they had the perfect alignment of what I wanted from those programs. Both those programs offered that. And in the end, it was such a close battle that all it came down was to geopolitical situations. And that's why I went ahead with Imperial. Because if there was no Trump scenario, then I feel like it would have been a much harder choice, and I would have probably had to spend my entire mind on this problem. But since this was there, then I feel like the Imperial was an obvious choice for me.
Yeah, yeah. No, you and I had two discussions around this, I remember.
Yes.
I remember the second time I hung up with you, I said, even if there were no geopolitical situations, I know his choice. You had chosen Imperial, even like fairly and squarely. Because remember,
Yeah.
we had done that dive into the curriculum
Yeah.
and stuff. So we had already done
Def-
that little bit, and we had spoken a little bit about London and the advantage of being in the city versus. So I had when I hung up with you, I was like, no, he would have chosen Imperial regardless. But sure, let him think that he's saying no just because of the geopolitics. Because it's hard to give up a Cornell. I completely relate.
yes.
Right. But the last student who gave up an Ivy League, she got into Columbia and UMich and went to UMich for whatever she wanted to study. This was some time ago. When I spoke with her 4 years later after she graduated, she said, I don't regret my decision a day. Those were her exact words. So you'll be fine, Harshal. Imperial is going to be so challenging, you won't have time to look up, even to be honest.
That's the hope.
Javita,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the hope. Javita, I'm going to talk about your mental process here. Okay, instead of being external, I want to talk about what went on internally, because you had really handpicked and cherry picked your colleges, and then the first few were rejects, correct?
Yeah.
And HEC Paris was also among one of them.
Yes.
And then what did that do to you? Was it a problem? Or were you were like, no, I was mentally ready for this. I knew I was hedging my bet, so it didn't matter. Or did it take a little level of unlocking maturity of another level to cope with that?
Yeah. So
Was
I
it
think
failure? Is my
Yeah.
question.
So HSC Paris was the first rejection that I actually got among all of the colleges that I applied to. And you really question yourself, all of these years of hard work and actually planning everything out, right from your extracurriculars to your CGPA to, all of that effort into GRE prep and everything, you start questioning yourself internally. And again, I want to talk about Anaga because I had a call with her and I actually broke down because I thought that this is not how it was supposed to go. But then she told me, like the best thing is going to happen and it's coming, and just believe yourself. And I still remember those words because I actually was very low at that time. And then a few weeks later, I got an email from Imperial regarding an interview call and all of that. So the rejection actually pushed me, because I worked twice as hard to prepare myself for the interview, and it wouldn't have happened if that rejection wouldn't have come through. So I feel that I pushed myself double and twice as hard to prepare each and every answer from the question bank, rehearse, be really prepped, and give my best self. And I think the best thing happened after that.
Oh, that's amazing. And it did unlock a level of maturity, right?
Yes. Yes, it did,
Yes.
because you're actually really, I was actually immature because I thought that, what if all of the rejections fall through? But you have some wait lists, you have some rejects, and you have some acceptances. So it's all a part of the process.
Part of the exactly, it's all part of the process. And because I have you already unmuted, at the beginning of our session, when you were introducing the most complex part of the process, you mentioned the why of the essay
Yeah.
was was stressful for you. Take us through your essay process, Jovita. How did you
Okay.
approach it? What did you follow? Whatever angle you wish to share with us about the essays, I'm happy to listen.
Okay. So initially, I had a couple of calls with Archana and Nimisha, and they guided me through the entire essay, the entire brainstorming session, how we're going to go step by step. So I had joined the Red Pen way earlier. I joined back in April, and I was very intentional that I want to start my prep early.
Okay.
So they took me through the brainstorming sessions, and it was a really deep introspection exercise into what you really want to do. You have to ask your why at this stage, because if you're
Right.
not clear on your why, you won't be able to reflect it out in your essays. So I remember asking really critical questions, especially around my leadership initiatives. Why did I actually do this? Did I actually enjoy doing this? What did I learn from this? And it all circled down to financial literacy and my financial literacy initiative workshops, to founding Raya, to actually developing a 5 stage financial literacy model and then showcasing it at a research convention. So it all weaved into a really beautiful story. The initial brainstorming sessions, you it's difficult, but then at the end of it you get so much clarity on your short term goals, that at the end of it I knew that these are my short term goals, these are my long term goals, this is what I'm looking at, and this is what Imperial will offer me. So I think the entire SOP process, it's a really long process, but at the end of the day what you get is clarity.
Got it. So basically, if you to take all that breadth of your work, you basically had to spend time really understanding what motivated you to do it, what you
Correct.
took away, and put that into a pattern, and
Yeah.
then finally write about that.
Yeah, because with me, I had a lot of experiences to offer, in terms of my extracurriculars, in terms of my internships. And it was really hard to understand, because you have to put your best self, right? And you need to know, okay, if will this, fit, not fit, but then will this actually highlight my genuine self, my authentic self? So it took a lot of time. But then one thing that I really did, what was really helpful, and I would tell everyone to do that, is that I actually maintained an activities list. So right from my first year of college till my last year of MCOM, I had noted each and every activity that I took part into, the skills that I gained, and what I actually learned from it. So that helped me even more, during the brainstorming process, because I was just referring to that Excel sheet back and forth. And that was a really it was a really good exercise, and I would encourage anyone who's getting started with the SOP to start off, because it's a really great thing to begin with.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I mean, we do it on the undergrad side a lot, but this is like good advice to tell grad students to be doing it. Harshil, you spoke about the GRE struggle, and I'm going to talk about GRE
Yeah.
later, but that also kind of reflected in your essay writing process, where
Yes.
were so stuck on your structural style of thinking that to get into the whole flow or the narrative part of it was hard for you. You just
Yes.
were just not getting it. Take us through that piece of your essay writing process. What happened and how did you overcome those obstacles in the essay writing process?
So I feel like Red Pen really, really, really helped me through this process, because the essay process of the entire application was, I feel like, where I was the weakest in, because I know what I want to say, but I just can't write it on paper. And Red Pen really helped me get my voice on that paper. They help me structure my thoughts. They help me structure my words, and in a very elegant manner. And I feel like that's really important because you can't really just ask anyone to write your essay. It's not gonna be you. You have to write your own essay, and it's just something that I was never able to do before I joined Red Pen. And after that, I got clarity. I understood what's to be written, and then I finally got the idea, and then with the help of Red Pen, you guys helped refine my essay, and then I was able to go through with it.
I
So
feel
yeah,
like you also grown as a speaker. From the first time we met, like the very first time when you were still in the middle of college to now, you're able to express much better what you're thinking.
yeah,
Because earlier you used to like I could see there were thoughts in your brain, but you used to overthink how to say them, and now you're just like
yeah,
being able to share and express so beautifully. Um, and it's very important that at this part of the process, I do mention a little bit about how to leverage. Actually, one first, Jovita, you gave great advice. Create an Excel sheet, maintain a record of all the
Yeah.
stuff you do. Harshil, my advice to you is for the next step, so that you never ever have to deal with this again, read every
yeah,
week, 20, 30 minutes. The more you read, the better you'll write as a life skill, right? And also because focus is going out like crazy right now. People are listening to podcasts on 2x speed. I'm like, what's the point of listening to a podcast at 2x speed if your long-term memory is not going to retain it? So I think my one recommendation again for current college students is what Jovita said, and then what I'm asking Harshal to do, which is read. So if you can do two things for yourself, then that would be great. But I also want to take this moment to talk about AI because this was something we spoke to each one of you independently. And I think it's important to bring it up here, which is AI is a great place to brainstorm. Like, for example, when Jovita was thinking about, these are the 5 experiences I have, and then she just doesn't have anybody to bounce those ideas off with, to then put it into a sub-agent or one of those LLMs that she trusts. And because it has some content of hers already, and so she starts brainstorming with them, saying, what are the patterns that you're typically looking at? If I'm talking about me leaning more towards doing financial literacy, then where is the gap in terms of the work that I've done? And then trying to think whether this is authentic or not, right? Because AI also makes up stuff. Versus giving it the prompt, giving it your resume, and then saying, write my first draft. Because what's going to happen? Two things are going to happen. One, now it's going to give you a near perfect English draft. And you're going to think, well, this is really good because you're not good editors. So
Yeah.
you don't know now how to edit this essay. Sometimes we also struggle editing AI essays because once I read an AI sentence and I'm like, that's so well crafted, but I have to now find holes in it and I have to humanize it. But humanize doesn't mean I'll put a spelling error. You get
Yeah.
it? Now I have to think through the whole voice, which is far harder than Jovita if I have to think through your voice. Because
Yeah.
I can find your voice very easily. I can find your emotions easily. This is a very sanitized clinical document. So it's much harder for us as editors. Imagine you guys who've not done this for years, right? So if you give your resume and the prompt and the college and everything, and AI gives you a draft, now you don't know what to do with it. You read it. And on first glance, it looks amazing. Okay. But you're like, no, okay, give me placeholders. So I'll put examples. So now you put placeholders and then you give it back to it to clean it up. Now AI thinks this is an AI generated draft.
Yeah.
So the next time I put it in an AI review software, which is saying, tell me how much of this is an AI draft, it turns up as AI. Okay. Even if you give your own written thing, wait, if you write your whole thing by yourself and you give it to AI and you ask it to improve it, now it becomes AI generated. So it shows up in LLMs as AI generated. And these are little things people don't think about. So when we work with applicants, whether we're working on, competitive research paper edits, or when we're working on competitive essay edits, or when we're working on your college application edits, we're always telling you, do not put your draft into AI. Don't give it any of your content. Use it like a friend who you're sitting and having coffee with and saying, oh, you know what, I'm working on the Stanford essay and I'm thinking that, based, and don't give it your resume, nothing, and just talk to it and say, what's the framework that I could approach it with? okay, what should be the 5 frameworks that I should not look at considering that I have a literacy angle in mind or things like. And so it gets your juices flowing. And you're like, okay, at least now I have a starting point.
Yeah.
And then you give it to your counselor and your editor, and then they do the magic that they need to do. Right. Um, so it's very important that we talk about how we can literally use AI as an assistant instead of our editor. That's, I think, the important point to make. And all 3 of you were good about it. We've spoken about it, and then everybody's taken feedback. Even we speak to you right about it right at the beginning. So, hopefully so what happens is then we get better drafts and we get more human drafts, and therefore it makes our process much easier. Um, and another place where AI shows up is in recommendation letters. And unfortunately, that we have little control over if the recommender is not giving you,
Yeah.
uh, a point
Yeah.
or a space to do content with, or to ideate
Mm.
with, or to draft it with. But the other piece of recommendation that is very critical to think through other strategies, right? And Ved, here is where I would like you to step into the conversation. Your recommender selection strategy. Who did you pick? Why? And which element of your profile did this person highlight in that document?
So I was really particular about one thing is that this is for everyone who are going to be stepping in and starting their applications. If you're working somewhere or you have to work somewhere, right? If you've studied at your institution and you have good connects with your professor, any of your professors, right? Always take your recommendation from someone who knows you well in what phase of life you've been with them, right? The maximum you need to have as much of personal touch you can in your recommendation from your recommender. It can be a person who could have been a mentor or could have been your boss at your firm, could be your manager, could be your associate professor, anyone. So I was very particular about one thing is that I wanted one of my professors to give her inputs on whatever work I have done with her in college as a student or any of the mood competitions that I've attended because she knows it the best, right? I and so one academic recommendation for sure. And during my internships, right, guys, do not be shy to talk to people at your firm, right? Again, it again comes around to building connections. And this is a part of when it comes to your professional recommendation that also comes through connections. Though you're an intern, right? You need to find someone. It does not necessarily have to be a manager, right? Direct reporting manager. The person who gave me my recommendation was not my direct manager at my internship, right? He was the main general counsel who gave me the recommendation because I had done one research for him, just one research paper that I had written for him during the internship, which left a mark with him. So I just texted him on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, I'm applying to these colleges. Would you be interested in giving me a recommendation? And he was prompt about it. He's like, yeah, send across a draft. I would go through it and do it. So it can be anyone from any walk of your life that you have had some experience with or who you've learned something from is the perfect person for that. But make sure that they know some aspect about you and should have been a part of your life because that creates a more personal impact on your recommendation. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's good advice that you have to think through what your interaction levels of interactions are. And this kind of brings me to, so we've covered college list, we've covered essays, we've covered recommendations, and I want to talk about standardized testing. And Harshil, you spoke about GRE being the toughest. Smart kid, engineering student is doing research with Cambridge professors and struggling with the GRE, right? Was it a concept problem? Was it multitasking? Were you doing too many things at the time when you were studying? What went on there?
I feel like it would be an excuse to say that just because I was busy, I could not, get a good score in GRE. To be honest, I have never really been very good in giving competitive exams, and probably the nerve just takes over, and like I get good scores in mock, but then I don't perform well on the actual test. And I feel like that's something that I should really work on, and that's the thing that bit me when I gave my GRE. And and I'm not discouraging anyone. I feel like if you work hard enough, it's not even that difficult. If you just put in some work, you can crack GRE very easily, and it's very doable. It's just something that I should work on myself, and not it's not something that should be demotivating others.
Not demotivated. So that's a good moment of self-awareness. You've learned what kind of a learner you are, right? Jovita, did you give standardized test?
Yes, so I gave the GRE and I gave it twice. So I actually started preparing really well in advance to give me enough room for giving, the best attempt and submitting the best score. So I ended up submitting my second score, which I gave later in October. My first score was really bad. I think I agree with Harshal because we all are good at quant. Like I realized that I was really good at quant, but when the verbal part came, and then it's really tricky. And these competitive exams are not just about it tests your mental resilience on a lot of angles. But I ended up submitting my second attempt and my second score was much better than the first one that I had given.
Yeah. And I think the GRE is such a critic, GRE, GMAT, LSAT, whatever exam you're giving in your life as an adult. The thing what happens here is that we start becoming aware that if there is no pressure or there's no over preparation, because the school also over prepares you for their exams, the board exams or IIT entrance or whatever. Take away all of that. I have to own this learning process for 3 months, 4 months max, and the onus to perform is mine. There is no major calamity happening on the other side of it.
Yeah,
Suddenly, your true self, your true learner emerges. And you start becoming aware of your patterns of learning and your inhibitions. Like you said, it tests your mental resilience, means it made you want to go back to it again and again and build
yeah,
that patience. For Harshil, he was like, I've just realized that I have a mental block against standardized exams and I have to work on it. Because graduate school is going to be exactly like that. Nobody is going to monitor you. Nobody is going to care if you sat for that exam, if in the morning you turned up in time or not.
yeah,
If your exam is at 9 and you overslept, that's on you. Like the college doesn't care. And it's not
yeah,
because they don't care about you, because they have admitted people who are self-aware. So you know that this is my weakness. So I have to work on this towards that end. And I think this was also a growth spurt for the both of you, to be
yeah,
honest. Because just understanding that about yourself now will make you more successful in college. So good job to both of you for that. Um, I'm going to circle back to another element of the application that is often hidden. Like, the GRE is a bit of a hidden element because we advise you on the strategy and then we move on. It's not really, can't write it for you. The other piece of it is also the hidden component is the extracurricular engagement piece of it. Harshil has a lot of technical, Jovita, yours was Raya, where you had so much college community engagement and there was the tech thing happening on the side. I want you to help us understand for a person who studied law, worked in law, applying for law, right? Where are the extracurriculars coming and how are you really showcasing it? What are you doing? How are you letting an admission officer know? Outside of just writing it in your resume, how are you really leveraging it? Or are you? And you may not have leveraged it. So take us through that.
So, I'm going to be very honest. One thing I really learned with Red Pen is that this is kind of like an academic therapy. So, you should not hide anything from your therapist when it comes to your academics, right? Or any part of it.
I like that.
So,
Academic therapy.
that's the easiest way I could put it to you. If you think you're embarrassed about something you've done or you feel this is not relevant, I think you should let Red Pen decide that. Because I think once you collate the whole thing together, it looks really beautiful once the whole thing comes together. Yeah. So that is what Jocelyn and Sonu did for me at Red Pen. They just told me, tell us everything. Tell us everything about who Ved Prabhu is, right? And I was like, that's some part of it are really uncool because I used to be a musician before I came into law. Then I did my law. I did my startup to find a legal tech AI. I was all over the place. I was like, what should I mention to colleges to make myself seem relevant? But I was really happy about one thing, right? Because here admissions officers and the academic professors both are in sync with the applications. And my cohort is just 35 students, 35 to 40. So I met my associate director for the course, and he was like, I was really, really looking forward to meeting the lawyer who sings. And I'm like, wait, what? So I was like, because I'm the only Indian applicant in my course, right? So he was like, I was really curious because I found your piece of SOP, and I personally read my students' SOP because it's such a small cohort, right? Out of so many applicants. So he was like, I was really happy about the fact that you sing. I do too, you know. And how did you manage that? So I used to do freelancing as a singer. I was doing my legal tech startup. I was working as a lawyer. But honestly, what they like about your SOP is, do you have fun doing whatever you did? Right? Do you love what you do?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, right? Just be honest about it, share your experiences, be a little witty in your SOP. It's not that formal, honestly. Professors like to have a laugh or two, for sure. So yeah, that helped me a lot. And extracurricular is something that weighs as much as academics, according to me, because they can see your CV and know what you are as a profession, but they will only know who you are from what you do other than that. So
But how did you say it, Ved? Because you didn't say, hey, I'm a lawyer who sings, or I like to sing. There was an angle to where music
yeah.
entered your life. You have to share that. Because the
Oh,
next time I don't want somebody saying, oh, I saw your J2C video. I'm a Kathak dancer and I want to do corporate finance. And I'm like, okay, now how do I really connect, right, with Kathak? And but, I mean, of course, I'm sure
no,
we
no.
find narrative.
No, you're
But
right. You're right. So
tell
yeah.
us how you took us through that. How did we kind of, because music had a very important role within your law, right?
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
brought that out. Talk about that a little bit.
So, when I started out with music and I was figuring out my career, I used to see this, a lot of my friends who are still musicians and they continued on that path. I saw a lot of times that there are a lot of big brands in the industry make you sign bonds, contracts where you're stuck with them for like years, right? Not being able to move out of it, not being able to work with different opportunities that you get. You get stuck to an organization because you signed a bond long back because you didn't know you'll grow in a certain way. And at that point of time, I've seen people feel so helpless, right? Because it's just a piece of paper that you sign and you don't even feel like reading through it. And you're like, okay, oh, it's a paper, you sign it. But you get to know the consequences later once you're working through that, right? And that's when I felt, and I was really curious about the fact that, okay, this is something affecting people's life, especially ones that are close to me. And, it's something that everybody should know a little bit about. And I started reading few of the agreements from my friends and, reviewing them. And then slowly I figured out, oh, this is really interesting. It's not just a plain piece of paper with some lines. It's really highly scrutinized document. And that's how my journey towards law and my applications toward being a lawyer started. That was my journey from transitioning from a musician to a lawyer started, because I saw there's a lot of people who need help and who don't know what these documents can do to your career and what your goals are towards. So it's a really small example, but yeah, that's what connected my SOP to a lot of other things. Yeah.
It's about holding space for yourself, right? Like you sat down, you really reflected on the beginning of your law journey, and you realized that there was a transition. Like Jovita realized that going into financial literacy was her pattern. So there are these unique moments of eureka that each one of you brought to the process. And it was about, also, I'll tell you another advantage all three of you shared was starting in time. Like Jovita started early, but both of you, Harshil and Ved, also started well in time. So you all had honestly the luxury of time to just sit back and truly sit with your story and reflect on it. And then, of course, when for Harshil, when college started, he got crazy busy with multiple deadlines and forgetting he had to meet us because he had two lectures back to back. And so we had a lot of that, but it didn't matter because by then the college had started, we had already finished the groundwork. So for us, it was literally just keeping him on top of his tasks but versus him having to compromise on the time spent on thinking through who he was in the process. So, your extracurriculars also was able to bring that weight out because you spent time on understanding it deeper, right? More than just us crafting it out. It was more a moment of self-reflection. And when we speak about essays, right? Because you said that admission officers are reading essays, and these masters cohorts typically, if it's a bigger cohort, they will have a team of admission officers. So there are typically people who have read your essays, and they kind of understand who you are to be able to share it with the rest of the committee. So it's a very important part of the admission process across good universities, and therefore to kind of overcome the AI obstacle that they're facing, they're doing a lot of interviews and video essays. Harshal, did you have an interview
I
or a
did
video
with
essay?
Imperial.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jovita, did you?
Yes, me too. I had an interview with Imperial.
Okay. Did you have it with anybody else, Harshal, or just Imperial?
just Imperial.
Just Imperial. Okay. So Jovita, let's start with you. Obviously, it went well, but can you share a little bit about the experience and what did they ask you, and what are your insights to prepare for the interview?
Okay. So, so like I said, when I received the email from Imperial, they informed us that it's going to be on shortlister. Now, Imperial for all these years had Kira, and I think a lot of people were very well averse with Kira with respect to the number of seconds that you have to think and the amount of seconds that you have to actually record your response. Now, with shortlister, we had no clue because we didn't know if was going to be 25 seconds to think and 30 seconds to respond, or 60 seconds to think and 1 minute to respond. So there was a lot of uncertainty about that. But then, Anaga told me that, no matter whatever it is, the format is going to be the same, irrespective of the time constraint. So the Red Pen gave me a question bank. It was a comprehensive list of questions related to finance. And that question bank was very helpful because I remember, I think, one question being repeated in the interview, the recorded interview that happens. And Anaga was like constantly with me because she told me that, she was giving me constant feedback with respect to my voice, the tone that I should speak in, what I should highlight, some filler words, like if you're saying, like for a lot of time. So those aspects you don't realize it before, but then those were highlighted really well. And for my interview, I had four questions. So one was technical. It was with respect to how would banks respond if interest rates rise and fall. The second one was with respect to leadership, and the third one was about tell us about a time when you failed. And the fourth one was a typed in response where you have to type a response and tell them, this were the things that you did and then what you learned from it. So overall, that was the experience. And it's very important to rehearse a lot of times before you actually record the response. Because one thing that I want to say is that when I actually logged into Shortlist and when I was about to record my interview, your own self reflection distracts you from actually speaking authentic content. And I didn't realize that. And I was like, oh my God, I have 20 seconds and, I have 2 days to record. But then a lot of back and forth happened and you really prep yourself well. And then, just give it your best shot. Like, be your authentic self. Don't rehearse responses from AI. I mean, have your bullet points ready with respect to what you want to highlight, but showcase your real self, because I think at the end of the day, they are not looking at a right or wrong answer. It has to be from within, and they can identify that really well. So I feel that, just be your authentic self. Don't rehearse. It's fine if you pause, but then don't take too many long pauses. So I feel, yeah, that was the overall experience out of it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Harshil, how about you? How was your
For
experience?
me,
But
the
also, what did
experience
they ask?
was Yeah, so for me, the experience was quite unique, I would say, because it didn't even feel like an interview for me. It was a live interview. I was talking to a professor, and I mean, he was just very intrigued with the projects that I've done with the government and then the project that I was working on with Cambridge. And they just asked me very personal questions like, okay, and it was quite technical with the questions. Like one of the questions was, okay, you did this work in Cambridge, then what particular package did you use? What particular methodology did you use? Why did you use it? And then it came to a little bit of entrepreneur side. They asked about my family. They're like, okay, what do you guys do? And then what do you want to do in the future? So it was very they're very targeted questions toward me. They were very well rehearsed with my profile. And I felt like I was just talking about myself. And it felt like a very easy flow when I was going through the interview. And I feel like that's very similar to a couple of friends that also had their interviews, and they said the same thing, that they're very targeted questions and they just make it feel very easy. You just have to be yourself, you just have to know what you're doing, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And both your interviews, even though the same university, are very inherent to the departments. Like
Yes,
Harshit applied to a
yes,
technical department. He had a faculty quiz him on his technical skills. Of course, at the Red Pen, we do not fabricate stories. We don't embellish anything. Harshil had done every project that he had mentioned. And so for him, it just felt like rehearsing the,
yes,
when you were asking him to write it for the essay. So he was like
yeah,
reflecting on those bullet points more than anything. And his whys, he knew his why. He knew why he was studying the subject. He knew why he had to go because, again, I think Jocelyn worked with you. So he had worked very well
yes,
on cleaning out the whys within your head itself. So the clarity was
yeah,
very strong. And for you, Jovita, they want a person who's able to think critically. They want a leader for the future. They want
Yeah,
somebody who's going to be able to make strong decisions in the world of finance. And so
correct.
for them to test your critical thinking, your logical reasoning was far more important. And I'm sure, Harshal, you also must have got at least one or two critical thinking questions,
yes,
right?
I did.
Solving questions. Because I think that's a very imperial thing. They really want strong problem solvers. But for both your cases, your styles of questions or your styles of interviews were inherent to the department.
Yeah,
And this does beg for the audience today to pay attention to the fact that, every university does a very unique way of checking in on you
yeah,
and making sure that they know who you are before you get on their campus. Because
yeah,
that's very important that you are committed to who you're going to be from what you've written, right? So
yeah,
Yeah,
it's very important that they have that person on campus because that cohort together will ensure the success of each other, right?
yeah.
absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
important to understand in this
Yeah.
process. Okay, I
One
have
very
got
unique, sorry to
yeah,
cut you off, but like one very unique question they asked was, how would you explain neural networks to a child? And I feel like that was very fun in answering. And yeah, so I feel like they
critical
have a
thinking.
bunch of these questions, and if you know your stuff, then I think you'll be able to go through with it.
Yes. Okay, so that's really good. We have to add it to our question bank. All right, I've already gone 2 minutes over, but I really want each one of you to answer the final closing question. Harshil, we start with you since you're unmuted. If there was something about this process that you wish you had known in the beginning rather than the end, what would it be?
I would say definitely that you need to know your whys, because I feel like I was very late when this process happened, and I felt like it was a little rushed. And if I had known from the beginning that you have to know yourself, you have to know what you want, then the whole process makes it very easier.
Much easier. Got it. Jovita?
I think I agree with Harshal, but I want to add on to that is that the importance of patience, because you are, in so much anticipation and there's so much that this 1 year takes, the entire application cycle. It is intimidating, but I think the importance of patience and also taking care of your health, because I think that was really important for me. And it's fine, be calm, be patient, be resilient. But then I think at the end of the day, everything will come like, a full circle. Yeah.
Nice. And wait, your last.
So I think Jovita and Harshal have covered the most important parts about this thing. I'll just only add to one thing I had mentioned earlier, is that you do not need to feel shy with your coordinators at Red Pen. Just be transparent with them, be honest with them, tell them everything. Let them know who you are before your admissions officer knows who you are, because they will tailor it way better and translate it in a manner that the admissions officer would get. Right? That is one important aspect that I would say. And the second is, don't feel that you're alone in this whole process of admissions, right? Trouble your coordinators, talk to them, always be in touch with them, tell them every little problem you face about, and I think you're good to go. I think that is something that I did, which helped me land the offers that I wanted, and I'm really grateful for it under that. Yeah. So
Thank you so much, Ved, Harshil, Jovita. I don't know where this 1 hour flew by, literally. So I've obviously not don't have any time for Q&A anymore. So we're going to request anybody who wants to reach out to them. You can find them on LinkedIn. Their names are on the screen, and they will be more than happy to answer your questions. Uh, Wait, when I'm headed to Singapore next, I'm definitely going to meet up with you, Jovita, Harshal. I hope to see both of you in London sometime soon.
Actually,
I-
Tripti, I'll be in Shanghai in January, so
oh,
I'll catch up with you. Yeah,
definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn,
for sure,
and we will
for sure.
definitely meet.
Yeah.
I really am excited to track each one of your progress on LinkedIn. I'm going to stalk the three of you on LinkedIn. Trust me, I stalk all my applicants, and I am going to be your biggest cheerleader. And thank you so much for trusting us, and all the very best to all three of you.
Thank you.
Harshal,
Thank
say
you
hi
Thank
both.
to them.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank